Castaway.
We're wanted men. I have spoken.
Welcome to episode 147 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. I'm Glenn, and back again is Jason. Jason, how's your week, man?
It was awesome. How was yours?
It was fun. How was you just got back from Disney, so we can actually talk Disney. I could talk to you about Guardians. I'm so excited. I could talk to you about Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, because that was such an amazing ride. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. How was Disney? How was it?
It was awesome. It was a great time. Wish I was still there. Too short as usual.
I want to live in Florida so bad, but I have a feeling that if I did, Disney, with the magic of Disney, would be lost.
Have you ever lived in Florida?
No.
Yeah. That explains why you want to live in Florida.
I've lived in Louisiana, which is pretty close to at least the humidity and crap of Florida, but
yeah, that's close, but it's still not Florida.
Yeah.
But anyways, Disney was awesome. It was great. I had fun. It was a blast, and we did a lot and packed a ton in for 3-4 days that I was there. 3.5 days.
Yeah, you were well before my internet decided to crap out on us. You were saying something happened on your way down.
Yeah, what do you think happened?
I think you got another flat tire.
Yeah, another flat tire. Yeah, but luckily, count your blessings. This happened like 10 minutes before the rain.
Oh.
So if it had blown 10 minutes further down the road, we would have gotten stuck in a downpour.
Uh-huh.
So I would have had to have changed the tire to downpour. And then we were lucky to find like a mom and pop shop who had one tire that fit the car, and we were in and out in 30 minutes. So it was like an hour delay. It was like nothing.
Wow.
So that's the best case scenario. But we did get caught in like torrential downpour for an hour, which delayed us even more. So getting to Disney was frustrating because it took so long. But once we were there, it was, we were inside the bubble having a good time. We stayed at the cabins at Fort Wilderness. Fort Wilderness, which was an interesting experience. We like staying at different resorts just to try to change things up a bit, but it was very spacious. It was good. These things are going to get closed down. They're replacing them with DVC club members or like glamping cabins. It's not the log cabins that they're currently using. But the weird thing was, on that second day, our towels never dried out, and the bed sheets seemed to absorb the moisture. And so it was just like very damp inside of the cabin. And we had friends stay one of the nights like directly next door to us, and we thought maybe it was just an issue with our cabin, but no, it was their cabin as well. So maybe this is a reason why they're tearing those cabins down and replacing it with DVC cabins. But
yeah, maybe. And I've heard the DVC cabins are like already built, so all they're doing is like dropping them in place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was great. We stayed there because it's been a bucket list to do the Hoop-de-Doo review when we lived in Florida. That was something we wanted to do. We just never got around to it. And so this time we made a point to do it. It was a blast. It was fun. Highly recommend it.
Is that, do they like, because you're servers and they mess with you, right?
No, that's the Whisper Canyons at the Wilderness Lodge, where if you ask for ketchup, they'll start screaming at each other, "Where's ketchup?" Whispering Canyons, I think is what it's called. This is like a theater show. This was made during the first year of Walt Disney World by interns. They wanted to put on a show for the campers, and it's just been going ever since. It closed in 2020, obviously, with the pandemic. It's been tweaked a little bit over the time. But yeah, it was a great show. They put on this like country western. It's almost like a traveling Shakespearean actors kind of show. It's like vaudeville a little bit. And they put on the show because they're just rolling in through town while you eat your dinner, and it was fun, and it's all you can eat. They had ribs, and they had fried chicken and mashed potatoes and mac and cheese, and then they had strawberry shortcake at the end. But the fun was just them coming out singing songs and going up on the balcony and singing songs. It was really great, and I highly recommend it. If you've never done it, at least do it once. And then we did Epcot for most of it, which was great. Epcot was fun. They've changed Epcot to the point where it's now fun. I don't know if I could have said that 20 years ago. That was the one park we would skip.
I kind of enjoyed all the scientific stuff in Epcot, but that's just me being, I guess, weird. I don't know, but it also stunk because it was like one thing, so you had to wait in line to play with it, or what,
Yeah.
It was annoying from that part. But plus I had my mom that would always be like, we didn't pay to play with stuff. We came here to ride rides or whatever, so I never really got to do that kind of stuff. But sorry.
Yeah, there was one funny joke about that on Guardians. I don't think this is a spoiler because there's so much going on with the queue that there's a chance you might miss the joke. But Star-Lord was talking about why Epcot was a great place for this attraction, because Epcot was the greatest because of the what is it, the motion. He listed off all the pavilions that were no longer there.
Yeah.
And the joke is, and like going and ride the dinosaurs, which is funny because you're in the ride that the dinosaurs used to be in. It's not there anymore.
That's great.
Yeah, so that was a nice inside joke. And like I said, there's so much going on. There's a chance you might miss that joke, but
yeah, because
yeah.
When I wrote it, I kind of saw the tail end of it, because you feel like, because the queue was just moving, and you don't, in the back of your head, you're like, I gotta go, but I don't think you realize that it would be all right if you stopped and watched it. I don't think people would get mad.
If you do the lightning lane, you're gonna miss all the queue because it's like it's a different line, so you don't go on winding through and getting the story and all that stuff.
Right.
And there's a rumor that Disney it's not a rumor, it's like probably a dirty secret. Disney is controlling the number of people who can get into the virtual queue to force people into the lightning lane, which is why we waited 2 hours for 10. So we were number 100. And when it hit 90, it was like a 2-hour wait for us to get to our virtual queue number 100 to get on the ride.
Wow. Well, then I could believe that, because when I was down there, I did it, and I got one of the early queues, and within an hour of me being in the park, I was on the ride. But then I was watching the lightning lane all day, and you contemplating buying a lightning lane, and you could literally, it was 4:30 and your lightning lane was 4:30 to 5:30.
Yeah.
So they're messing with, and when they're messing with the numbers, because when you walk on, you walk on the ride.
Yeah.
For a lightning lane, there is no wait. Even with the virtual queue, I felt like it was a walk-on ride. So I agree with that. And I agree,
Well, it wasn't a walk-on ride for the virtual queue for me, but you were early in the morning. This was a lengthy wait, and like I said, as I was waiting, I was just seeing people just trickling through that lightning lane like nonstop. So they were being prioritized. But it was like Jordan said, it was the smoothest roller coaster he's ever been on. Nothing prepared me. Like, you even were telling me, get on Guardians. But like, I'm like, what is with this dude trying to get me on Guardians? Like,
because I knew you would regret not riding it, man. I knew you would.
Yeah, but nothing really set it up for how fun it was.
Right. All right. So let's just do it. All right. This is a spoiler review of Guardian. So if you haven't ridden it, or you don't want to hear it, fast forward a few seconds or fast forward a couple of minutes, because I've been waiting to talk to Jason about this for a month, because it's that much of an awesome ride. So if you want to hear a spoiler version of Guardians, this is where we're going. So fire warning. All right, Jason. So
yeah, you start the spoilers.
No. Okay. So when I got there, I was on it at probably 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. So I was running through, but there, the whole queue is really, I really enjoy what they've done with the queues. on these, because when you walk in, there's, if I remember correctly, you're looking down on whatever planet they're from,
Yeah,
right? There's like
this is a Nova planet. It's I would know it in a heartbeat if I wasn't recording right now.
but when it's like they are setting you up to meet these people.
Xantar?
Maybe Xantar. Yeah, Xantar sounds familiar, but don't quote us on it. So, so you're kind of walking through
Xandar, sorry.
Xandar. Hey, you were close. And so it's all preparing you for this stuff, and there's a lot to look at. But when I went, you're not. I like having a fast queue. I like when you're running through the queue, but I also hate it because you're missing all the stuff. So you got to be somewhere in the middle of standing there for hours versus running through it.
Yeah.
And then when you get past everything, so there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of things to look at. There's a lot of, relics or whatever that you're looking at. Now, you probably saw them better than I did, because you said you had like an hour wait or 40-minute wait to get on the ride.
Yeah, there's a little things here and there, just setting up that this is a pavilion at Epcot to connect the universe to the people of Earth, and they chose Epcot as the place to, set that base up, because it is like a world pavilion. Like, if you're exploring different things, you got your world of motion with Test Track, you've got your world of space with Mission Space, and now you've got like, further outer space with the Guardians and the Nova Corps.
Dude, I totally missed that.
Yeah, and so
but now it makes sense why they put it in Epcot, because it's a pavilion.
And you're supposed to get beamed up to a ship.
Yeah.
And that's when things go awry. And then you've got the
So let's talk about where you get into the room, the pre-show, or I guess the final pre-show. So yeah, you've got all the stuff, and then there's a screen that's got Chris, what's his name? Chris Pratt, and it's got all the cast of Guardians, and like you said, the inside joke where Chris Pratt is like, yeah, I love Epcot, and everything he's talking about is gone, and I caught the tail end of that. And it actually threw me when I went to Universal, because Chris Pratt is doing the same thing on the Tyrannosaurus, on the
Jurassic World ride.
The Velocicoaster. So I walk up and I see him on screen at the Velocicoaster ride, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong park.
Star-Lord.
So anyway, and then when you get into the room where the pre-show happens, like the pre-show is a ride in and of itself, I think, because it's just that awesome of a pre-show.
Yeah, it really sets up the scenario really well.
Yeah, so they've got they're like, oh, come into this room and you're gonna be beamed up, and I kind of feel like the screen technology, they may be overusing it, because it's the same thing they did for the Halcyon, and it's the same thing they did for Space 220, where there's stuff on the ceiling and you're supposed to be beamed up somewhere. So that's
an old trick, though.
But it's
Disney old trick.
It's done so awesome, because you're in a room where there's walls, and then all of a sudden they beam you up, and there's a dark section and the walls are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's pretty cool. And I kind of know how that happens, but it's still like they did this for a roller coaster.
I was surprised to see the Celestials as a villain.
Okay.
Especially after Eternals.
See, I never watched Eternals.
But I could see, and they were also in Thor and Dark World. But okay, I could see them easily replacing that with Galactus someday. So we'll see. But I was like, oh, there's a Celestial. And then, so that's a nice connection, because my daughter, one of her favorites is Eternals. I don't know why, but okay, more power to her.
Right.
But yeah, he takes you and he time travels to the start of the universe. And I can't remember. See, that was part of the problem with the ride, is that there is a plot, but so much is happening that I don't even remember why we were going there. We were trying to prevent.
There was some kind of spark or something that we were trying to get back from him.
Yeah, that was the spark that allows the Nova Corps to make jumps to the universe.
Yeah, because they
essentially making wormholes wherever they go.
Right, and there's times where, like, because all of a sudden the spark is there and they're showing it live, and there's stuff going on screens.
But the Celestial takes it.
Yeah,
and he goes back to the start of the universe, but I don't remember why.
I think he wanted to destroy Earth or something.
Well, he's the size of Earth. He could just swing. Anyways, he could swing a hammer and destroy it. Anyways, yeah, you go back, and that was a pretty incredible part of the roller coaster.
Mhm.
It's a backward launch, but you leave the launch cue forward, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, because this is not what I thought it was. And then the cars turn 180 degrees, and then I'm backwards, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this works.
Yeah, because the first time I wrote it with sort of somebody who, we were in the same mindset, and we were like, how are they going to do this? How are they? And then all of a sudden the cars turn, and we're just like, this is how they do it.
Yeah, it's fun. We got hearts. What is it? One way or another, I'm gonna find in jail. I'm gonna get you. And that was probably the best song. I know there was stuff going on around me. I was having so much fun, just trying to figure out what's going on. Like, the ride was one step ahead of me, because it was rotating and turning, and I know that there were screens. I know Rocket was yelling something at some point. I know the Celestial was captured in the end, but there was a whole lot, like, oh my gosh, I'm going sideways in a spin right now. Like, it was like you're skidding in a car, or like a drifting in a car, and it was just so much fun.
The ride itself, you're being a ride nerd on it, because you're like, the roller coaster shouldn't be doing what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
And you're more like, oh my God. It's like when I saw the trackless system, where you're watching the trackless system and be like, that's some cool stuff that it's doing. It's the same thing with when you're on that roller coaster. Did you forget that there's stuff you're supposed to be paying attention to? And you're just like, this is so awesome.
And I knew the roller coasters turn sideways and stuff like that, but I always, leading up to it, not being on the ride, in my brain trying to engineer how it works, like, I would just think, like, you would get extreme G-forces when you're going sideways and the thing is rotating, because not only is it spinning, but you're spinning too, which should increase the G-force. And like, there was very little of that.
Yeah.
It was so smooth. Like, I'd be rotating sideways, and I don't even realize, like, oh, 3 seconds ago I was going straight, but now I'm going sideways looking down. How did that happen? I didn't feel it. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
So highly recommend it.
And
check it out if you can get there.
Didn't feel sick on it.
No,
right?
I didn't feel sick at all. I was ready to jump on it again.
The only time I felt sick was, there's a time, like you said, you're spinning sideways. So you're facing a planet and it's circling the planet, but you're looking at the planet. So you're circling it sideways. And that's the only time I kind of felt queasy. And I just didn't look at the planet, so I looked up, and that helped me get through those 2 sections.
Yeah. So again, highly recommend it. I thought it was fun. My daughter, as I had mentioned before, I promised her that I wouldn't go to Hollywood Studios. But while she was at the park, and she was with her friend, and my son Harrison was ready to go to all these different parks. I don't know why I said his name and not my oldest daughter, but anyways, that's weird.
Because you love him more.
No, Maisie. I'll just say Maisie. Maisie wanted to do all the parks, and I'm like, okay, well, let's go to Hollywood Studios, and they had the Indiana Jones Den of Destiny, which was a pop-up bar right next to where they do the stunt show. And so we snuck in there, and I had the fedora, maybe the dusty fedora, which is a whiskey-based drink with some vanilla in it. They had props in the bar from the movie. They had Indiana Jones's suit, not his leather jacket and tie and all that stuff. It was the suit that he wears probably at the start of the movie. They had Helena's dress and her pants, a deck of cards, which I'm like, that must be important in the movie. They had his whip, they had his fedora. Like, they had all these props on display, which was awesome. But then I had the whiskey drink, which is a really good whiskey drink. They put in a ball ice cube. So it was like, like the ball itself from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it was probably like distilled water because it was so clear. But then they put nutmeg on top of it, probably to simulate sand. And it did add flavor to it, but at the same time, it was like crunching on sand, like, and take a drink, and
they took it one step too far.
Yeah, there was a little too much nutmeg. But so my wife and I were at the bar while the kids went on Muppets 3D, and we were waiting for them to come out. And we're sitting on a bench outside of where the Muppets let out, and I'm like, you know what? Galaxy's Edge is right there. I'm gonna go see the Falcon. So this was before dinner, so I didn't eat anything, and I had the whiskey drink, and it went straight to my head. So I'm like walking through Galaxy's Edge, racing to the Falcon, and just like, ooh, I'm in Galaxy's Edge, ooh, like feeling just slightly tipsy. But yeah, seeing the Falcon and just standing underneath it, like it's a sight to behold. I don't know if I'll ever get tired of seeing a full size Falcon in Galaxy's Edge. And as I was walking out, I saw Vi and Ray, and we were talking previously about it's not what it used to be when when it started.
Right.
They've kind of cut back a little bit. No one says to the spires or bright suns. Like it's just like, what do you want? You want a Pepsi? You want a Coke? What do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they've cut out the atmosphere a little bit.
So they cut the atmosphere out a lot.
I was surprised to see Vi and Ray. Oh, that's the other thing. Like I was running through, they had the monkey lizards that sit on the shoulder.
Uh-huh.
They didn't have the blue one anymore. They only had the Salacious Crumb looking one. They didn't have
Would
the
you
one
have
from
bought the blue one?
Yeah, because they also said 40% off the monkey lizards.
Really?
The monkey lizards were 40% off. I'm like, dang it. So I didn't have the blue one. I only have the Salacious one, which is fine. I'm good. But so I was surprised because of all the cutbacks that Vi and Ray were there. And there was a little kid, hey, I love you, Ray. I love you, Ray. Can I get a photo? And she's like, oh, sure. And so she, Vi and Ray, they take a photo, and I'm sitting there waiting for my turn. And some other kid walks up. Oh, Ray, can I take a photo? And it's not that I was upset with the kids. Like, I'm not standing around here. I was upset at the parents for being so oblivious, because it wasn't one or two. It wasn't like one or two. It was like 3 or 4 parents that were just like walking up and walking around me to get to Ray and Vi. But, I was patient. I waited for no kids to be around. I was like, can I get a photo real quick? And Ray was like, I like your shirt, because I had R2-D2 on it. I'm like, thanks. And I took my photo, and
He's a friend of mine.
He's a friend of mine. I think that's what she said.
There's nothing quite like being the 40-something-year-old man being like, kids, get out the way. I need a photo with this
I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to do that. No. So we rode Star Tours, and we got a sequel trilogy run. Like my kids had said they've never seen this before, but we did get Jakku.
Nice.
So Star Tours is like flying through that opening scene on Jakku with Finn piloting the Falcon. Hey, Star Tours, what are you doing here? Like he starts yelling at you.
I think I might have seen that, but I don't remember. It sounds familiar.
I appreciate it because it was all sequel trilogy. I've been on one where I'm flying Naboo, which I know Naboo exists during the original
I got
trilogy.
that one when I was there last time.
I understand that Naboo still is in existence during the original trilogy, but I don't associate it with the original trilogy, so I don't like it when I got Naboo and then Boba Fett flying through the second Death Star, which I think it's the second Death Star. That happened one time, not this time.
Boba Fett, they have a series where Boba Fett flies you through the second Death Star?
He doesn't fly you through, he chases you through it.
Wow. I never got that one. Yeah, I got all Naboo when I was there last time, and the Naboo starfighter pierces the front of the ship, and I'm just like, that's kind of a letdown.
Yeah. Poe Dameron is the one that comes out of the hologram. Star Tours, what are you doing here?
Oh my God.
The ending was Exegol, so you're flying and you're hitting the Star Destroyers all in a line at Exegol, like the regular Star Destroyers at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So you're flying through that. When you
I'm
sit
disappointed.
down,
That sounds awesome.
it was good. As much as I don't like Rise of Skywalker, it was fun. It's a fun experience. As soon as you sit down at the Star Tours ride, you don't put your glasses on. I don't put my glasses on, and I start looking around because I want to be the spy, because they do pick you out. And Kylo Ren comes out at the beginning. He's like, one of you on the ship is a spy. And then they throw a photo up of somebody who's in the actual audience.
Mm.
So at the beginning of the ride, before you put your seatbelt on, I always like look around, and like next to my wife, she was more towards the middle. I was more towards the doors. And this father goes to the son, who's sitting right next to Shannon, my wife. He said, you want to look around because they're going to take your photo right now. And you might be the spy. So my wife, she doesn't care, but she's just like looking around because that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the spy.
And now
He
I
ended
know
up
how to
being the
get to be
spy.
the spy because
Yeah, you have to sit towards the middle, and when you sit down, there's this moment where you're kind of waiting for everybody to sit down and kind of get ready for the ride, and that's where you need to start looking around to become the rebel spy, and you want to be more towards the middle, like I said.
Gotcha. Have you seen the video where they're right when they're like, I think it was at Disneyland that they're like, we got a special guest, and Mark Hamill walks on the ride.
Yeah, that's similar to like when Johnny Depp came out and he was the actual Jack Sparrow on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Yeah.
And Dwayne the Rock Johnson did one of the Jungle Boat cruises during the Jungle Cruise movie. But that's all Disneyland. That's not going to happen in Orlando. They're not flying celebrities out to Florida.
Because nobody likes Florida.
But yeah, it was a blast. If you can't tell, and I did pick up some stuff while I was down there.
What'd
I did get the R2S4M, which is the droid on the barge that has another serving set.
Uh-huh.
I guess there was R2 and then this other R2D2 and then this S4M, which I guess I need to go back and watch Return of the Jedi once again to see if I can find him. Because apparently it was there
for like 30 seconds, if that.
Not even. He's probably like half a frame.
Yeah.
He's probably like right next to Yak Face, and you're like, oh, there he is. Oh, no, he's not there anymore.
No, that's not him. He had a red stripe, not a blue stripe.
Yeah, he's white with red stripe.
Yeah, man. It's Jamaican for beer. Sorry.
Oh, okay. If you say so.
You said red stripe.
If you say so. We did stop in. There was something I was looking for. It's a coaster and glass set by an artist named Jeff Granito.
Uh-huh.
It's like shag art. If you know what shag art, it's like this 1950s pop art, like an animated, like almost like when they do a 2D version of the Incredibles. They've got like exaggerated features. It's very geometric. But he did this whole cantina thing with coasters, but he did like deep cuts with Kabe and the Tanaka sisters, and having just finished those in Black Series form custom figures, I was like, I want that. So I got the coaster set, and I also got the glasses to go along with it. So I have that awesome to play with.
You were finding some cool stuff because you were posting pictures in Disney Springs, and I don't know if they put new stuff out.
They must have.
Because were you in the main shop, like the big ass mouse store?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there. They had like a 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi t-shirt with Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb, but I really don't like wearing shirts that match my skin tone, and this was like a peachy yellow tan color. Yeah. And I was just, if someone sees me from far, it looks like I'm going around topless, and I'm like, it had Salacious, so it was really speaking to me, but I was like, I don't like the color of the shirt. I don't want people thinking I'm naked.
Right.
So I didn't pick that up. But this whole coaster and glass set, there was serving trays, there was plates, there was a tiki cup, there was a like a Hawaiian style shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It was only available at MGM. You couldn't get it anywhere else on property, so it was in this one store only. It was really a killer set. I wish I could get more of it. There was like a bowl, like a popcorn bowl.
Oh, so you were at the thing outside of Star Tours, or at a different place?
No, it's on like that main street in Epcot. In Hollywood Studios.
Oh,
it's not even near the Star Wars stuff.
I know where you're talking about. Yeah, because I didn't get to go in that shop.
Something.
Yeah, because when I got there, I was like, oh, I'll hit the shop on my way out, and then when I was leaving, the shop was closed because of it being a special event.
Yeah,
and I was kind of upset about that because I wanted to check that store out.
Yeah, so that cantina stuff was cool. And as someone joked, the Georgia guys in their cantinas.
Yeah, because I've got a cantina, you've got a cantina, and Ryan's got a cantina.
And they're all different scale.
Yeah, which is great.
And I'm building a full-size cantina bar. Section. Let me clarify that. But
you've been building that. But yeah, all right, yeah. So okay, that explains a lot that you were in that one shop, because that's where I found the Ezra lightsaber, was in that shop on Main Street, and I was kind of upset I didn't get to go in it. But anyway.
And then unfortunately my uncle passed away, and so we drove up to South Bend, Indiana this week, and I stopped at. We try to minimize the number of stops because we just wanted to get up there, and like it was a 24-hour drive there and back. and then we spent like 18 hours there. So we spent more time in the car than actually there because it's a funeral. It's important to be there. Anyways, we
Right.
did stop at one Walmart, and they had the speeder bike on clearance for $30. I was like, well, $15 for the figure, $15 for the speeder bike. I think that's worth it. So I picked that up and I opened it. It's a cool speeder bike. I really appreciate that. It's TVC. And then the only other thing I picked up, Amazon sent my Micro Galaxy Squadron Anakin Starfighter, so I picked that up as well. But that's all I picked up so far in the past 2 weeks.
Cool. I actually got something.
Yeah, I know you got the thing. That's why I went first.
I sold my I finally got my DT Luke sold, which was kind of crazy shipping that across country and insuring it, because it was like $60 to ship it with insurance, which I was like, holy crap. But anyway, if something happened to it, I was happy that it was insured. I was like, please something happened to that, because my wife insured it for more than what I sold it for. So I'm like, cool, I can make money if it disappears. But anywho, I picked up an alternate wax sculpt of Bill from Bill and Ted. That it's based off of the cartoon version of Bill versus the live action version of Bill. So I don't know if they were trying to figure out which way they wanted to go with the toys. So they decided to do the cartoon sculpt. And then they also had another wax head, which the guy thought it looked like a skull. So we were thinking that it was the Grim Reaper, but then I posted it on a chat and somebody said, no, I think it's the bad robot. Because in
Bogus Journey,
there's a scene where there's bad robots that look just like Bill and Ted, and they pull their heads off, and there's a thing there's a robot head, and that looks really similar to the sculpt. So we're thinking that maybe that's what they did. And yeah, it
would have been easy to just switch out the head, keep the old body of the Bill and Ted figures, and just swap out the head. So maybe that's kind of what they were thinking.
Yeah, and then they based it off of, or what they built it onto, or what molded onto was at least the arms and legs look like a starting lineup. Arms and legs. I don't know about the torso because I can't see what's underneath it.
Covered in wax.
Huh?
It's covered in wax.
It's covered in wax, and I'm not taking the wax off. But you could tell they had bitten, like the arm was straight. The right arm was straight, so they make it like he's playing the guitar, and they cut the arm off and like bent it in a way to make it straight or make it curved. And you could tell they put a little bit of wax on it and melted it. So it's just a really cool piece. And the wax was, because when I hear a wax sculpt, I'm thinking candle wax. And it right now, well, I guess when it dries, it's more like a resin. So it dries like a resin versus wax. So you guys were over last night, and I'm like, hey man, you got to hold this. And you're just like, I don't want to. I'm like, you're holding it. And you were even like, oh, this is, you were the one that said resin. So it was just it's cool to have that piece in my collection, because you kind of set goals every year of what you want to get. And a wax sculpt has been on my radar for years, and to get one that fits in my focus is even more special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything fell into place with that piece. And just, don't be afraid to let people know what you're into, because it fell in my lap. Somebody messaged me and said, hey, I have this. Are you interested? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm interested. And a month later, it's in my collection after I sold my DT Luke,
Well, don't you have a piece of art that's not placeable? Was it Napoleon or Billy the Kid?
It was Napoleon that was not placeable with it. Actually,
is that more of a cartoon style version? So maybe they were thinking about doing that.
Yeah, the Napoleon I had ended up being used for Beetlejuice. So, but yeah, they could have been just trying to figure things out.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've hopefully I'll talk to somebody who did this stuff soon. Yeah. So I'll figure out what they were thinking, if they remember, because I've talked to some guys before, and they're just like, dude, that was so long ago, and I was not that involved in it, so I don't remember it that well.
Did you pick anything else up?
I did pick up yesterday. We had to go run some errands, and then we needed to get stuff from the grocery store. And my wife was like, "Do you want to go to Walmart? You want to go to Kroger?" And I said, "I'll go whichever one you want to go to." And she's like, "Well, let's go to Walmart because I know you like looking at the toys." And went back to look at the Micro Galaxy stuff, and there was the medium-sized starfighter. Is it the Starship?
Yeah.
So the Ahsoka, the snow speeder, the tank, and the gauntlet, that section. And they had 6 of them out.
Did they have Ahsoka?
They did not have it, dude.
Oh, okay.
No, I
'Cause
would
you
have
mentioned
showed you
Ahsoka.
last night. Look, I got an Ahsoka.
Yeah, you mentioned Ahsoka. I'm like, wait, you didn't pass it by, did you?
No, I wanted to pass the Ahsoka by, and I probably would have picked up another Andor or the Andok just because if he was sitting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were 6 of them sitting there. So if I'm assuming there's 6 per case because it was an even number. And so there was no chases in that case.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of disappointing, but it was cool seeing them. So I picked up long story short, I was telling my wife I wanted a snow speeder that I could put underneath the leg of the AT-AT. And she's like, "Well, why don't you just pick it up now?" I'm like, "I'll play the long game on it." She's like, "Just get it now." So I got another snow speeder.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I got a, last 17, the guy made a little baby Wampa. There you go.
I have 2 snow speeders.
I got a baby Wampa from last 17. Somebody had thrown some up on Deal or No Deal.
Cool.
Yeah. And I just made a deal on some Mythic Legions while we were talking. Some dude had some that I wanted, and he had like the Panther and the Tila because I did Masters of the Universe tributes, and they did I got the Battle Cat, and he had the Panther, and the Panther is worth a lot of money, and he sold them both to me for like $130 shipped. I was like, "Dude, I got the better on you," because that's like $60 a figure or a little bit. Yeah, that's $60 a figure, which they're worth more than that. So
I did go into a Myers.
Yeah.
Because I've heard about Myers on different, chats and Facebook groups. Hey, check this out. I got this at my Myers. And it's like a Kroger meets a Kmart.
Okay.
At least the one I went into was like really old and felt used like a Kmart.
Kmart. Did they have some blue light specials?
They had hard liquor in there, which I guess is an Indiana thing. Like you can sell hard liquor in grocery stores, which was weird.
You've never been to New Orleans then?
I have. I just never been into it.
They sell liquor everywhere in New
I'm
Orleans.
sure. I'm sure. But yeah, that's it. I have some news.
So yeah, that Myers and HBE or HEB, those are the 2 things that you see. People are like, "Yeah, I found this.
Yeah.
I found 5 Ahsokas in my HBE. And I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Let's go to some news, Jason, because we didn't have news last week because you weren't here, and I didn't look for them for any.
You were just winging it.
I was winging it. My wife was
Something's happening, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
So I did report that rumor that Idris Elba was going to be in the Star Wars movie, but that might not be true.
Really?
Yeah. Which is why I don't like reporting on rumors. However, I like reporting on them when I like the rumor, which is why there's a rumor that Alden Ehrenreich is returning for Heir to the Empire movie.
Who's that one? Which one?
The Han Solo from Solo.
Ooh.
He might be coming back to play Han Solo. I
would be down with that.
Yeah. Which is why I like the rumor. And then the other part of the rumor is that someone else was going to play Carrie. Sorry, they're indistinguishable to me, but someone else would be playing Princess Leia.
Okay.
In the movie. A new actress.
I know they're still trying. Because somebody was trying. I just saw something on Facebook like who would be the better. It wasn't anything official, but it was like Billy Lord. It was Millie Bobby Brown, and then somebody else. And I'm like, if you're gonna do it, get Millie Bobby Brown to play it because she can. At least 2 years ago, she could pull off Princess Leia. I hadn't seen her in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know about Billy Lord because she's already playing a character in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
which might confuse people. Like, what is she doing here? Wasn't she in Rise of Skywalker? And why is she in this prequel to those movies? But there was Production Weekly ran a summary synopsis of the new Rey movie, which I don't think is accurate because it sounds exactly like the treatment George Lucas sent in, where Rey tries to start the Jedi Order, and she's got a boy and a girl that she's training, and then the girl becomes more powerful But I'm like, isn't that what George Lucas was trying to pitch for episode 7 when we abandoned it?
I would be okay because I've kind of looked into that a little bit, and those treatments that or whatever what you heard George Lucas wanted and what they did, what George Lucas wanted was so much better than what they did, or at least in our head canons.
Yeah,
that I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. There is a release date shuffle, and this does tie into Star Wars. Avatar 3 was supposed to be December 20th, 2024, and that's been pushed to December 19th, 2025. The Thunderbolts took that original Avatar 3 spot. So the Thunderbolts, if that gets filmed, and we're in the middle of a production shutdown because of the writer's strike and probably soon to be a Screen Actors Guild strike, that was supposed to be December 20th, 2024. Avatar 4 is now December 21st, 2029. And Avatar 5 is December 5th. No, Avatar 5 is December 19th, 2031. I can't even think that far into my life.
And I'm like, how would they do that much with Avatar? Unless what are they going to do? Find like mountain people and go exploit them?
Maybe.
Well, that's what so we were watching when we were watching the Avatar, The Way of Water, and the boy saved the guy. Mandy, my wife, is like, why would he do that? I'm like, because they got to have sequels. When he saved a bad guy and then the bad guy left, I'm like, they got to have sequels.
I bring all this up to say that an untitled Star Wars project has a release date of December 18th, 2026. And another Star Wars project with the release date of December 19th, 2025. But that one's been pushed to May 22nd, 2026. So it was December 19th has been pushed 6 months to May 22nd. So we've got a May release of a Star Wars movie, possibly. And then a third movie, December 17th, 2027. So to sum it up, December 2026, May 2026, and December 2027 are supposed to be Star Wars movies.
No, don't do it. We already lost out when they did that with Rogue One and Solo and the sequel trilogy. That I don't want them to do that again because it's too much too soon.
Yeah. And I want to make sure that they do it right. Like, let's make the movie and then set the release date. I know that Hollywood doesn't operate that anymore. They put stakes on the calendar so that other productions can't take that weekend. So other productions have to work around it. But at the same time, just make a good movie. You can't even write anything right now, and you've got release dates. Come on. Unless
they've already got it kind of written, but I don't know. I know that there's a lot of actors that have, taken, are striking along with the writers. But I drove, because we've got that one production company down near Peachtree City, and I drove by that last week, and it was full. The parking lot was full.
Yeah, you could film right now. You just can't write anything.
Okay.
So you can't improv on set. They're saying, like, with Daredevil, because Ryan Reynolds is part of the Writers Guild, he can't ad-lib. He can't do the smart remarks that he does.
He can't play. Yeah.
But with Deadpool, he wears a mask. So as long as the script says Deadpool looks at camera, he can look at the camera, and then they could put whatever they want after the writer's strike as ADR, so they can add dialogue after the fact.
Yeah.
But and then the final release date, which was surprising because this is Disney, but they did put this on the calendar, and Alien Reboot will be released on August 16th. I was about to say December, but it's August 16th, 2024. So next year we're going to have a new Alien movie.
Interesting.
So if you like that kind of thing, which I do, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's like Prey, which is that spinoff of Predator, which was awesome.
I have to watch that. There's a lot of movies that I need to put in my wheelhouse, need to put on my radar.
I would put Prey towards the top because I was like, oh, another Predator sequel. Like, do we really need those? Because it hasn't been good since Predator 2, which to some extent, which wasn't as good as Predator 1. But I say all that to say Prey was just as good as those two movies.
And that's the one that's like Indians, right?
Yeah, Native Americans. And there's a version of the movie you can set it so that they speak their native language.
Uh-huh.
or there's an English version.
Interesting.
So it just depends like how in depth you want to go into that whole historical aspect of things.
Cool.
And then yeah, that's it for news.
Have you watched Secret Invasion yet?
Yeah, I watched the first episode.
Okay. I was kind of excited to see like Emily Clark, right? Mother of Dragons.
Amelia, yeah.
Amelia, yeah. You know who I'm talking about. I was like, is that her?
That's her.
So I'm shocked at the amount. Number one, okay, so spoiler alert. Number one, the amount of deaths in that movie, in that show, and the amount of A-list actors they have in that show. And Jason froze. There you are. You're back.
Yep.
So
I'm back. It was good. It was a good episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm like, okay, so this will hold me over till Ahsoka.
Speaking of Ahsoka,
Yes.
World Between Worlds.
Yes. You were talking about this last night, but you stopped yourself. So
Yeah.
sometimes this podcast really hinders our friendship because you'll be talking and you're like, I got to save it for the podcast.
Yeah, this is a conversation worth having here because
Yes,
you
let's
know
have
my
it.
disdain for the World Between Worlds. But what is the World Between Worlds in your mind?
The way I see it, kind of like I do on the cartoon, where you're in this place where you can go to different portals and see different aspects or different time events, different
What is-
events.
Yeah, but what is the purpose of it? Just to
Oh.
observe, or is it to time travel?
I think it's to time travel.
Yeah.
I don't want. I don't know why she would be time travel, but she does say when Ezra tries to pull Kanan out that you can't. She's like, you can't do that because if you pull him out, everybody's going to die if you do that. So you have to let certain things happen, leave certain things alone, or you're going to ruin everything else.
So when talking to Cineblend, Dave Filoni said, I don't think of it as time travel. It's not really a thing where you go through one door and out the other in a different time. The World Between Worlds is really about knowledge and gaining knowledge. As Doom Wolf says, what's in there is knowledge and destruction. You can gain knowledge of the future or futures that may happen, and you could see things that happened in the past. You can at times choose to alter them, but it's perilous to do so. And when you alter something, you don't know if that's not the way it always happened. So destruction is the other half of what's in there. He went on to say, when you go through these doorways, you're in peril of destruction because you're messing with all sorts of things that would have happened or things that would have happened otherwise. So it's a dangerous game, but it's not something where here going in and out of different doors. It's an extension of the Jedi's ability to perceive the future and the past as described in Empire Strikes Back. So I think it's like when Yoda says the future's always in motion, this is the physical manifestation of that Jedi Force.
And that's why Dave Filoni makes the big bucks.
Yeah, but I don't think he communicated that well enough because it did seem like at one point the Emperor wanted to get in there. And when you see Ezra pull Ahsoka out into the World Between Worlds, he's messing with time. So what Filoni is saying that happened and it was always supposed to happen that way. That Ezra didn't change anything, but that wasn't communicated. And then when you see Emperor Palpatine trying to gain access to it, you assume that he wants to time travel so he could do what Ezra did.
Right.
But what he's saying basically is when Ezra was in there, I think he was only seeing things that happened to Ezra. Is that accurate?
Oh.
Was that accurate? Or was he seeing other things in the saga?
I think it was only things that happened to him. That's an interesting way of twisting it.
I need to go back and rewatch it with that lens.
Dude, I'm in the middle of season 4 right now, and I know Jedi Knight's coming up, and I'm already like crap. But no, that's an interesting way of putting it. And I think the only thing, because if you I know you're into time travel because we've talked about it before. But like if you read A Sound of Thunder, they know that so they go dinosaur hunting in it, and they know somebody will go and preach and be like, this dinosaur is dying at this moment by natural causes. So then you go and you hunt that dinosaur so that you're not hurting anything.
Yeah.
So I think like him pulling Ahsoka out at the exact moment she dies doesn't hurt anything because she's gone. You know, there's no more future for her. And you're not affecting anything in that moment.
Yeah.
So I
maybe
think that's go ahead.
Maybe that's how World Between Worlds plays into some of the things that we've been hearing about Ahsoka, how they reshot things from the series, the animated series.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're doing, is that she goes into the World Between Worlds to see things from her past to try to get a better understanding of maybe where Ezra is.
Mm-hmm. That would
I
make
don't know.
sense.
But with that, like, you just need to communicate it better when you film it, that this is not time travel. This is a knowledge gaining place, that you can affect things,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the intent. The intent is really knowledge.
And that's something that could be a sentence, because that's what I've learned with a lot of really good film writers or people will say, you know, we'll fret about it for years and it's a sentence and it explains it. And we're like, damn.
Yeah. So it's not like Ezra can go in there and stop the cloning of the Emperor,
Right.
because that didn't happen in his story. And he can't go back to the Dawn of the Jedi and prevent the whole thing from happening, because that's not his story.
Mm-hmm.
He can only see things that are tied to his life.
Right. That's an interesting way of putting it.
But
And I didn't think about it that way.
we need to triple check that, because wasn't there like a reference to Rey in there?
I don't know.
I
don't remember.
It's been years since I've watched that episode, and it made me angry afterwards because I didn't like time travel. So I haven't revisited, but maybe with this now I will go back.
Yeah, that's what you need to rewatch it. So that's what Dave Filoni said. The thing that makes me believe that the World Between Worlds is going to be a major plot point in Ahsoka is because when you talk to Dave Filoni, he's like, you don't need to watch all the Rebels. You watch World Between. Actually, you watch Jedi Knight, or he said, yeah, you watch Jedi Knight on from season 4. So that way you know what happens in Rebels. And that's when Rebels gets really freaking good. There's a dark turn to it, and then it just freaking pedal to the metal to the end.
Yeah. So hopefully it's explored in a way that doesn't involve changing things. Maybe it's just Ahsoka goes in there to see something and then she comes out.
Yeah, because you
That'd
know
be my
she's
hope
looking
World
for
Between
it.
Worlds. Yeah.
I mean, they've it's on all the art. It's gonna be a plot point in the show.
Maybe she just goes in there and never comes out.
Dude,
Becomes one with the timeline of the Force. I don't know.
Maybe that's how she dies. That's how we see the end of Ahsoka.
No, I would say that for the big screen, personally.
Oh yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting that there's an Heir to the Empire movie coming out.
Yeah, with a possible Han Solo now, maybe Holden.
Dude, that's if one of those 3 movies is an Heir to the Empire and they tie everything up that they've been working on for the last 5 or 6 years or 10 years on the small screen, I'm so in for that. I've been wanting that for, you watch Marvel do it and you get really jealous.
Yeah, they announced 3 movies in Celebration London, and then they announced 3 Star Wars movie release dates. So it's like the logical jump is that those 3 movies are these 3 release
Please
dates.
don't release them back to back to back to back. Give us 2 or 3. Give us a couple of years to digest that stuff. I mean, seriously, we need that anticipation.
I would hope that. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Because no, I'm good. I'm listening to what if you were going anywhere with that.
I was, but logically, Giancarlo Esposito said that they got 5 seasons planned for The Mandalorian.
Maybe.
Wasn't that what we said at the beginning?
It was
5
4 or
6
5.
seasons?
It was a good amount.
So 4 has been written. 4 is not going to be shot until after all the striking is over. So that's probably later this year. So that's maybe a late 2024, early 2025 release of Mando season 4.
Another year without Mando. Wow.
And then, we've got Skeleton Crew, we've got Ahsoka, and we've got The Acolyte. So we've got shows to tie us over, but there's going to be some sort of delay because there's nothing writing right now. So there's going to be a gap between shows, which might be good to cool off the brand a little bit and create the demand. So 2024, 2025, I would assume in that time, the writer's strike will be over by the end of this year, I would assume. So they can start writing in 2024 to film either late 2024 which is a 2025, 2026 release of season 5. And so if we're at 2026, that 2027 movie could be the Filoni Heir to the Empire to kind of close out all the Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah. I want to see where they're going with Mando, man. Anyway. Okay, and then there was another rumor that somebody, Pedro Pascal, was like, I'm fine with Katie Sackhoff taking over Mandalorian or Bo-Katan running into
You keep
Mandalorian.
pushing that. Every
Dude, I will push
opportunity.
that until I see it, until I'm proven wrong.
I was at McDonald's and they asked me if I wanted any fries, and they also said that Katie Sackhoff is taking over the Mandalorian. It's a rumor I heard in the McDonald's drive-thru.
Yeah.
You didn't appreciate that joke.
No, you're right, because I'll push it till I'm wrong, man. And look who I'm. I've got a freaking Bo-Katan head. I got weird crap on my desk, and I've got a Bo-Katan head because I put the Bo-Katan helmet on the TVC figure, and her head's on my desk.
Oh, that's right. Those are swappable heads. They didn't do a helmet for that one. They did swappable heads.
Well, I think it looks a lot better with them doing swappable heads because the helmet fits better on the figure.
It's not oversized. It's more in scale.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about, like I mentioned before, my uncle passed away, and he had a giant train room collection.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like exit plans that came back up into the forefront because my cousin wants nothing to do with his dad's train set because there's just so much of it. And it wasn't that it was so much. It was like he had the engine, but then he bought a second engine, then he bought a fourth engine. And so he's got 4 engines for the one track. And now my cousin's stuck trying to figure out what to do. My brother suggested cutting up the train stuff because it's all, like on raised platforms. So you just cut that up and then you would transport that a couple hours to my cousin's house. And my cousin's like, I don't, that's not my thing.
Right.
I don't have a thing like him or like me with my Star Wars thing. So I really have to come up with some sort of exit plan.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of got one, but there again, it's like I'm never planned for this kind of stuff. So in my mind, I'm like, if we ever move out of this house, that's when I'm going to liquidate.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're going to pack it up to move, so you might as well pack it up to liquidate it.
The only thing my kids want are the Funkos. Like the rest needs to go. I could see myself retiring with like 3 micro machines, maybe the first 3 play sets that we got.
Yeah.
So I have 1 shelf of micro machines. Maybe I'll die and get buried with Salacious Crumb. That's the prototype. Take one off the market. But he'll be an acrylic or something. I don't know. Acrylic carbonite.
I didn't think about it that way. It's like, what would be the 2 or 3 pieces I'd save? And I haven't even thought about that because you're gonna, like your 92 run, you would want to sell that as a set. You wouldn't want to break that up. Or if you did, you'd want to like sell the last 17 or, you wouldn't want to individualize all that because you'd want to sell that as a set, at least in my mind. And I hadn't even thought about what, if I had a shelf, that'd be, wow.
It'd be easier to sell off 3 things for my kids, than everything. Right. So if they only had to worry about those 3 things, maybe they want it because it's small.
Right.
It's something that I had as a child, but yeah, just something to consider again.
Yeah, because because we're dealing with that on the other end. In my family, we're dealing with people that really need to go into like a home, and it's like, how do you and you're looking at it going, I don't want to be that burden on my kids, so it's like that could be a way to fund that because that stuff's not cheap.
Yeah, because not only are they grieving, but now they're also having to deal with having to figure out what to do with all this garbage. Right. Because that's essentially, it's treasure to us. One man's treasure is another man's garbage, or one man's garbage is another man's treasure, whatever the phrase is. But they're like, what do I have to do? Now I've got this massive collection that I have to figure out what to do. They're not connected to people. So it's like, they'll sell it for pennies on the dollar.
Right. Was this a sudden death or was it kind of prepare? Was the opportunity to prepare for getting rid of the collection?
Probably, but maybe not. It was an illness.
Okay.
And there was
Yeah.
ebbs and flows, like he's getting better, he's getting worse, and then it was
Gotcha.
just
So
like
yeah, by
too
the
late.
time you start getting sick, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope that in my mind, I'm thinking in 20, 30 years, I'll be smart enough to be like, all right, it's time to dump this. But you never know. That's a 47-year-old me thinking, and
Get hit by a
golly.
bus tomorrow.
Right, exactly. So you're thinking, all right, so I'd be sick. So I would think in my mind, I'm thinking by the time I'm like 65, 70, I'd be like, all right, it's time to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I figure I got about
60, but that's another like 15-ish years. That'd be 17 years for me for 60.
Right. That's why I'm not saying 60. That's why I'm saying 65, 70. That's why I'm like, because when you start doing the math, it freaks you out.
Or maybe we just start a Georgia Alliance, the Star Wars Collectors Museum.
Yeah.
And we'll just donate all our stuff to the East Coast Museum.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Maybe
cool.
we'll work with Rancho and start an East Coast place.
How many sets of the 92 could we have?
Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm just thinking, because when like completing your 92 run is like a big deal as a collector. But when you go to I've gone to so many collections, and they're like, people are like, their 92 runs like in a corner. They're like, yeah, that's my 92 run.
Yeah.
It's after you've collected for so long, it's like a second thought. You're like, yeah, I did that 5 years ago.
Everyone has it. It's not interesting. It's deeply personal. That's my collection. I don't care about yours because I have mine. It's those unique items like wax sculpts where people will be like, well, let me see that.
Yeah. Or the people that, I've never seen a yak face, or so, that are just new starting to the collecting, and they're like, oh, yak face, that's an expensive figure. I've never seen one, and because when I started, that's when it's fun, is when you have the people at your collection that like, oh man, a yak face, or oh man, a pop-up R2, or, then they're kind of freaking out because they've only read about them. And actually David Quinn kind of did a good thing on his podcast talking about that, how, because he went to a show and he's like, yeah, my show experience is totally different from somebody who's just starting collecting, because I'm looking for a needle in a haystack, where they're looking for the haystack, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just got to learn to kind of see things through their eyes and enjoy it through their eyes. And I don't want to go back on a Disney trend, but my grandkid, he's going to be 8 in December, and he's like, I want to go to Disney. And it's like, when you take him to Disney, you're going to have to see it through. You've got to take a step back and realize it's his trip, not your trip.
Yeah. You go to Teacups. You don't go to Guardians.
Right. Or you realize, you're going to be standing in line for 8 hours you're going to see all the characters.
Yeah, you do what he wants.
Yeah.
So
it's sometimes you got to shift your perspective, and it's a totally different experience. And it's awesome when you can get out of your head canon.
Yep. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Have we done an hour?
Yeah, it's 11:11, so we're right at an hour.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I don't write anything down, so
We might be here next week. We might not be.
Yeah, it's 4th of July, so it depends on if Jason feels like or Jason can get somebody to. I'm going to be out of town next week, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I'd rather make the announcement now, so if we don't drop a show, if we drop our first show, or we drop a repeat or something crazy like that, people aren't like, what the hell?
Yeah. So you might get something new, you might get something old. Something
right. Or you may get nothing. I don't know. Yet. We haven't figured it out.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. You'll know on Tuesday morning.
On July 4th, you will know.
Yeah. And then it's like, how many people are going to really be listening to podcasts on July 4th?
Maybe they're driving home from somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And they want to listen to a podcast.
So if you want to listen to a really bad podcast, we may put our first one back up.
And you might get our voices bringing you home. All right, now drop it down to 65. All right,
you're going too fast.
Turn your signal on. Yeah, you're going 65 and a 25. You might want to slow down a little bit. There's a little some ASMR for you.
Yeah. Hold on, I can do that right now.
I don't hear anything. Zoom is cutting out the noise, the sound effects.
Yeah, that's what, because last week when I had Mandy on, I just recorded it in Audacity, and it's like the stuff that Audacity picks up versus what Zoom picks up is a totally different level.
Yeah.
It picks up everything.
What did you say?
I didn't.
Oh, I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, okay. I
Zoom
guess
is
when
just
you whisper,
canceling
Zoom
out the
cuts
noise.
that out too.
Yeah. If you're not a member of the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, I recommend you do so because there might be some announcements of some cool opportunities coming up on May 4th, 2024. You don't know unless
I
you're
know
part of
nothing.
that group.
Yes.
So join today.
Yes.
And thank you for listening to the Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. I should have found a clever way to ease into that this week, but I didn't. I tried to find something like George Lucas says this. But anyways, if you could please leave a like, a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out. And it points people to our show. You can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We love to make you part of our show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Right now, that email address is full with dust and cobwebs because it hasn't been used in a while. Thank you to Afonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. Hasbro re-release VC66, hashtag vote with your wallet. Sabine will be on next week. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.